potential of the country, we cannot continue to just rely on traditional inputs into production as capital and labor. We also need to develop our expertise in science and technology and innovation so that we can come up with new systems, new ways of doing things.
I think that science, researchers, industry, and even the government is really like an ecosystem of knowledge. So I think it doesn't really matter if you're coming from a private institution or a public institution, such as a state university. I think we all have a role to play to improve the research capabilities and scientific knowledge here in the country. I think it is about time for us to realize that one of our roles as academics, as researchers, as scientists, is to actually contribute to that global body of knowledge.
And the role of this cooperation among these government agencies really is to be able to attract science and technology, global-based companies to set up shop here. And that is really key in terms of developing the science and technology innovation ecosystem in the country.
Particularly because there's that deep desire. And what PAASE does and can do more of is to promote this relationship between its members.
We really need to ratchet up the appreciation, the recognition of the importance of science and technology and innovation.
And we are all trying to attain what we call the common good, the greater, higher, long-term good of the Filipino people.
Okay. Okay na, 7 o'clock na. This is your account. Okay. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Magandang gabi para sa mga nandito sa US. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight, today, this morning. A warm welcome to all the participants of the PAASE President Summit on the occasion of the 43rd founding anniversary of the Academy. It is truly an honor po to be among such distinguished individuals who have led PAASE in the past and have been instrumental in shaping the organization to what it is today. When PAASE BOD member and past President Al Serafica suggested this event, I immediately latched onto the idea, not only because we have not done a similar event, as far as I can remember. I thought a reunion and conversation about the past, present, and future of PAASE with you, the former presidents whose leadership are now part of the DNA of the organization, will be a great opening program for the anniversary week. But most importantly, I consider this a listening tour. We want to hear from you, the leaders who have paved the way for the organization to grow and thrive. We want to hear your stories, your successes, your challenges, and your insights. We want to learn from your experiences and leverage your combined knowledge and viewpoints to influence the future trajectory of PAASE positively. We have a diverse group of participants representing various fields and backgrounds today. So I'm confident that discussions will be engaging, thought-provoking, and informative. We are here not only to celebrate the achievements of PAASE in the past 43 years, but also to look forward to what the future holds for the Academy. I want to take this opportunity to thank the former presidents who have agreed to participate in this event. But of course, I would be remiss if I will not mention the founding president of the Academy, Dr. Severino Co. The presence of the former presidents here today is a testament to the continued commitment and support for PAASE. So your leadership and vision have been critical in the growth and success of the Academy. And we look forward, to your continued engagement, with the organization. I also want to thank Al Serafica, March Pena, and Gladys Completo for agreeing to moderate the discussions. Your expertise and guidance will be invaluable in ensuring that our conversations are productive and meaningful. As we embark on this summit, I encourage everyone to keep an open mind, be respectful of each other's viewpoints, and engage in constructive dialogue. Let us take this opportunity to learn from each other and work towards a common goal of strengthening PAASE and promoting science and technology in the Philippines. So in closing po, I wish everyone a fruitful and enjoyable summit. May this gathering serve as a catalyst for new ideas that will further elevate PAASE's standing as a leading organization of Filipino scientists and engineers worldwide. Thank you po, and let us make the most of this opportunity to shape the future of PAASE together. At this point, I'd like to call on Al Serafica for more words on the rationale of this activity and the methodology. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mario, and happy birthday. Happy 43rd birthday, PAASE. Yes, thanks again, Mario, for accommodating my request. Definitely on this one, I just really wanted to see everyone. That's my excuse and say hello. Especially Al and Joey, who I haven't seen for a while, and definitely for the rest, like Carlito. The rationale of the session is really for our young members, which unfortunately are probably not awake yet this early. But nevertheless, this session is recorded, so they can watch it. Hopefully, before we can show some after event shortcuts for our oath taking, maybe as part of their listening to us, even though they're not here presently. But we can do that. But it's really for them to hear us, the old ones, our collective wisdom of leading PAASE in the last 43 years. And hopefully it will help them craft the future of PAASE in the next 8 years to leading to 50, as Mario mentioned, but even beyond that. So that's the rationale for me. The way we structured it, since we're only given almost an hour, there's another session coming up at 8 a.m. I figured that we probably would have 3 questions to answer, 2 minutes each. So that will put us to about an hour. I can ask the question initially and probably give my short answer to lead the rest of the presidents to follow on suit. That way we can have a very quick, almost like an elevator pitch in a way in the past, because the first question is about our term as presidents on what was the theme of the PAASE meeting at that time and why did we choose that theme. That's the first question. So for me, it's 2017. This was the new administration wherein Secretary Ernie Pernia was in the cabinet. So I themed our PAASE 2017 meeting to be the convergence of academe, government, and industry, science and technology stakeholders to accelerate Philippine innovation. And at that event in Manila Hotel, we were able to invite the Ambassador of the United States, Song Kim, as well as the 3 secretaries of DTI, DOST, and the Council Executive Directors, as well as Makati Business Club Chairman Ed Chua, and the rest representative of industry. To me, that was the theme because I think it was a good opportunity for a starting administration to converge the 3 pillars to accelerate innovation. So I think with that start, I would then pass it on to Marge to lead, and I think we'll probably start with age before beauty in this case, probably Al, Al and Joey being the lead quarterbacks for PAASE, having been there the longest. Thank you, and good morning and happy birthday again, PAASE.
Okay, so the way that we had decided to do this is to ask 3 questions and ask the presidents to give a 2-minute response to each of the questions. There are 3 questions that I'm going to start out with, and we want to keep it to 2 minutes so that every president has a chance to give to answer the question, and then still have a lively discussion at the end of this. Please note that we have our webinar after this, so we want to keep the discussion short, but also straight to the point. So to begin the questions, the first one that we had said is, during your term, what was your theme and why? So I guess, Al, you had already said your piece. Let's go to Dr. Albano. Is Dr. Albano here? Dr. Albano, please unmute.
Yeah, kindly unmute, Al.
All right, does that work?
Yes.
Okay, I was saying that what impresses me most is how much PAASE has grown since I was president. If I remember right, there had been 2 meetings in the Philadelphia area. The first one was in 1988 at Penn. I think Bobby Mariano was probably president then, and 1997 at Bryn Mawr. During the 1988 meeting, I think there were 6 of us. In the 1997 meeting, there were more, about 30. And the task then was how to make PAASE grow. And considering what has happened since then, yes, it has grown. And I hope that we continue to be involved in what's happening in the Philippines. And the planned meeting there next year, I think, is a good idea.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Camisa, is Dr. Camisa here?
Yes.
Hey, welcome.
Hi. Good morning. It's actually evening over here. So you want me to answer the same question?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Para tayong nagbe-beauty queen.
Yeah, as Al said, there were only very few members of PAASE at the time, and whenever we have meeting, there will be attendees, as many as 10 to 15. And at that time, we didn't really have a team for the meetings. You know, it's just a get together to talk about what PAASE can do for the Philippines. And it was actually a short meeting for one day. During my time, I got a chance to have the venue at the Goddard Space Flight Center. And I was actually impressed by management because they made the venue the executive meeting room of the director of Goddard. So I felt at the time that even the NASA folks consider PAASE as a very important organization. So as I said, there was no meeting, but the representation by members, and although the expertise of members are very varied, was actually very lively discussions. There are lots of questions, and it was a very entertaining meeting. So the PAASE has evolved a lot since that time. It has evolved to the point where I think that it's mature enough to address many of the problems in the country, including trying to innovate and trying to advance scientific and engineering capabilities and making the country competitive in technology, manufacturing, and other money-making ventures.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Camiso. We have our next president, Dr. Carlito Lebrila from 2005. During your term, what was your theme and why?
Well,
Carlito?
hello, good morning and good evening to everyone.
Yeah, hi, Carlito.
I actually have the letter in front of me, so I know what the theme is. It was a letter, it was an invitation to the president at the time, President Gloria Arroyo. And the theme was promotion of international science and technology cooperation. And it was at the Cebu waterfront hotel. So I remember it was a great meeting, and PAASE back then was still relatively small. And so there were no parallel sessions, and so we heard everybody's talk. And in some ways, I miss those times because it was a great time to be able to see things totally outside your scientific window. It was a lot of fun. Learned a lot of new things from my colleagues, and we weren't perhaps as organized then as we were today, and we were a lot smaller. But certainly there was a lot of enthusiasm still towards the future. So it has become a lot bigger, and the organization is stronger. So I very much appreciate that also. And I'm very happy where we've been and where we are currently. I guess my one concern is that I don't feel like our progress and influencing and perhaps being involved in Philippine science, although that's advanced too, but that has not advanced as I think as far as I would have liked to see, as far as our organization has happened, and perhaps in the next years or so, we'd pay a lot more effort in that. So.
Okay, thank you, Carlito. Let's hear from Dr. Alvin Culaba. Alvin, he is president from 2007. Is Alvin here?
Wala pa yata si Alvin.
Wala pa si Alvin. Okay, well, let's move on to Dr. Leah Tolosa Croucher. Leah, president 2008.
Good morning and good evening to everyone. To be honest with you, I didn't know that there's a quiz about the theme of the meeting during your time. I couldn't even remember if I was 2008 or 2009. I had to check. So I did not. Sorry, I do not remember the theme. But when I was president, we did the meeting in Georgetown University. Pedro Jose was a great host. But I have to correct Mario in thinking that this is the first time we had a president's summit, because after the APOMS in 2008, we did have a president's meeting at Seville's house, and thankfully there were a handful of past presidents at that time. And so, you know, during my time as president, I really tried to make sure that new members participated in the APAMS. So I remember I personally invited Gobet and Francis. They were new members at that time. And I was very happy that they did make it into the meeting, and even happier that after attending APAMS in 2008, they became active and eventually became presidents as well. So, and they are kind of still active even now. So I'm really happy about that.
Thank you, Leah. Our next president to hear from is Dr. Gisela Concepcion, president in 2011 and in 2020, 2021. First two-year term president.
Thank
Yay.
you, Marge, thanks. But you know, Toby was president before me. Maybe he can speak ahead of me.
I'm not. He's in the list further down. So just go ahead.
Okay, so thanks. I'll be quick. So in 2011, I was president. By then, the org was growing. We had successfully launched our campaign to build a national science complex. And by that time, we thought we were on our way to improving the facilities in the country. And so we were encouraging many more PAASE members to come home and contribute to growing the knowledge and the know-how here. And so we were strengthening the Balik Scientist Program. And the APAMS was hosted in 2011 in UP Diliman. And we had speakers from industry and from government, including Luis Villafuerte and Ate Pascual. But we also had breakout groups, discussions, and I remember Pedro Jose leading the discussion how to evaluate program proposals. And Seville also spoke, but then Lulu Harold talked to us about education. And we were trying to get the website going. So I had a new website designed by the late our guy from NCI who passed away. He was from the PSI, and we had a lot of information in that website. In 2020 to 2021, we revised the Constitution. We were also in the midst of COVID, and we became relevant, tried to become relevant in COVID. So we had scientific advisories of several topics on the 4 major areas of COVID, which we addressed to relevant organizations. But then we had planned, you know, the APAMS that year didn't materialize on the theme S&T constructive volunteerism to our country. So we had shifted the balance of members to a greater number in the Philippines, and we wanted a Balik Kasabayan Mo Tayo Na program because we had a list of our members, not just by areas of expertise, but we were also trying to see who were from the different regions in our country and where they wanted to. In 2021, we had our 2020, our 40th APAMS, and if you recall, we had it for a month, 5 days a week, and we had about 200 speakers from government, industry, and also from academia. In 2021, I think it's still fresh in your minds, but we continued the theme, and we had many MOUs signed by then, most notably the one with the DOST, which I think is going to bear a lot of fruit. But bottom line is, I think we need to get some financial support for them. So I would like to suggest that we identify our priority programs, including ScienJ, which needs a lot of support. But then I think we've grown the number of members now and expanded them to the different areas of expertise. So MOUs are now being implemented to varying degrees and still needs a lot of help from more members of our organization. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Giselle. Our next president is Dr. Rigoberto Gobet Advincula, PAASE president in 2012. Gobet.
Well, first of all, it's an honor for me to be here with distinguished colleagues, and also happy birthday to PAASE, and more power to you. And in my term, I remember planning many things at the University of Houston, and after a very successful APAMS meeting in Manila, led by Giselle, we focused on things to bring the community closer even to graduate students. And I remember incentivizing graduate students to present their posters at the University of Houston meeting, but also inviting people from the industry, but also we were able to invite Dado Banatao and several speakers associated with the PhilDev Foundation to connect many things in terms of shared goals in science, engineering, and entrepreneurship at that time. But what I remember most, as Leah mentioned, is starting my being active at PAASE, and it's such a delight to do things together with fellow Filipinos and Philams to bring science and engineering and the STEM disciplines, not only in education, but at the forefront of national development in the Philippines. And I've always mentioned this as my story since I left the Philippines in '89. I can't remember any year that I did not go back to the Philippines except for the pandemic times. And every year I was there doing something and engaging with UP and other industries, as well as with the DOST. So what theme we can look forward in the future? I would say more of implementing what are already some very good ideas, directions, and capitalizing on very strong relationships, and taking advantage of the infrastructure that we've built and very actively these days by Mario and the current set of officers and BOD. So I think also it's a good opportunity for us to train new blood, young blood. Okay, I'd like to see more activity and commitment among younger researchers as well as professionals in PAASE. Thank you.
Thank you, Gobet.
Marge, you might want to review the question for Alvin. Baka hindi nyo narinig yung question.
Yeah. So let's call on Alvin. Alvin, welcome.
Yes.
The question that we have are asking our past presidents to answer for 2 minutes is, during your term, what was your theme and why?
Okay, thank you, Marge. Apologies though. I thought it was 8, but my power, I only have 51%. But anyway, yeah, back in 2007, it was really my time was really a culmination of a 2-year massive campaign, which was actually led by Philippine-based PAASE members. And of course, during that campaign in 2005, 2006, I remember, were participated in actively by our PAASE members from the US. And in 2006, a series of white papers, statements, in various aspects of R&D funding, human capital development. This was actually written by, of course, our colleagues, still active colleagues and past presidents, sila Giselle, Toby, Cesar, Ernie, Rod, yes, myself. Anyway, in 2007, this is a milestone year because PAASE elected a Philippine-based president, in me, no? So this was the first time that a president of the PAASE was based in the Philippines. And during this time, we pushed really, the culmination of that 2-year campaign into what, the APAMS in 2007, which happened in Manila, where no less than the former president, PGMA, was our guest of honor. And during that time, she really publicly stated and committed to the support to science and technology as a vehicle to achieving economic growth. And I think in my term, that was when the programs on massive human resource development program as a result of that campaign actually happened. The National Science Complex, Now, what would I like to see now, for PAASE? I would like to come back to that. What has actually, because we already had that, yung human resource development program, and still there for STEM. So where are our graduates now since that time? Where they get have jobs in the Philippines in STI based, And what happened to the National Science Complex where what we intended to? It was PAASE who pushed for that. So we need to know so that we can push for its yung kanyang benefit of that. The National Complex is already there. The human resource capacity building for STEM, both science and engineering, are there. And then we've been pushing for the increase in budget. In the percentage of R&D spending from GDP, from 0.2 at the time, 0.15 at that time to 0.5 to 1%, and it never happened. But it's there, so let's push for it. I think the papers are still there, so I'd like to see more of that. Now the impact and the results of those efforts back in 2007, and I'm really happy that since then there was already an agreement within PAASE that there will be an alternating president based in the US and the Philippines, and it happened until today. Thank you, Marge.
Thank you. Thank you, Alvin. We'll come back with you on your future ideas. Okay, great. All right, so let's hear from our next president, Dr. Francis de los Reyes. Is Francis here?
I don't think so.
I don't see his name. Okay, let's move on to Dr. Xenia Pigno. Is Xenia here?
I didn't see Xenia also.
I didn't see her name. Okay, next one we have Dr. Joel Cuello.
Okay, Joel.
Okay.
Joel, president
thank
in
you.
2018. Yes.
Yes, hello everyone, and happy birthday to PAASE, and thanks again to President Mario and Vice President Gladys and all of the officers. I wrote the theme on the chat so I can read it because I forgot about it, but I was happy that I was able to find it in my files. So the topic in APAMS 2018 was Science for People, Profit, and the Planet toward building innovation ecosystems for inclusive development in a globalized world. And I chose this topic then just really to underscore the fact that science, and when I say science, I'm including engineering there, that science really is a catalyst for economic development. And of course, in the Philippines, as well as other countries on the planet, economic development is a must, and it's high on the priority list. And so science is a catalyst for economic development. And at the same time, science is therefore a national investment by the Philippine government for the benefit of the entire nation. And since it is an investment, there needs to be a return on investment. And so I'm connecting the return on the investment to the establishment or the building of the innovation ecosystem in the Philippines that is globally connected. So science is not just, of course, training scientists and engineers. That, of course, is part of the Academy's mission. But larger than that or beyond that, there has to be also the a clear, explicit purpose of the academy, which really is in helping the establishment or the building of an innovation ecosystem for the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. And next on our list, we have Dr. Toby Dairit, who was president in 2009.
Yes, good morning, good evening to everyone, and again, congratulations to PAASE. Yeah, well, PAASE is really trying to strengthen R&D, but I think looking back, what we and some of these initiatives we started, we really have to continue. It's mentioned that we really have to improve the ecosystem of science in the Philippines. And how can we improve the ecosystem? Some of these are actually working in the background. For example, in the area of chemistry, you know, it takes 3 to 6 months to import chemicals because the regulations are so strict or so ancient. So there are many things that are hindering the development of the ecosystem because of the policies that are in place. So the things that PAASE can do, aside of course promoting all the research, the high-end stuff, is to get the key nuts and bolts of the system that hinder the development of science and engineering. We always mention certain government agencies. Right now, PAASE used to have a bigger presence in CHED. It doesn't have now. Of course, Esther Garcia's key people in CHED, but the people in CHED have moved on, and we don't really have a strong voice of science in CHED, as well as DepEd. So these are, I think, two agencies that are important that we have to influence so that we can, plant the seeds of science in the Philippines. Finally, I'd like to mention that the group that we also need to influence more is the industry. Magic Association of the Philippines. We need to have our industry recognize the importance of science, invest in research, and this will convince the government that to put more money into research. Right now, I think the amount of money being the science budget is not that big, but we can still improve the activities in science by channeling the money to other areas, which will also improve science. And this would include, the local universities, which do have a fund. And if we can guide them to use these funds intelligently, then we can contribute to the development of science in the Philippines. So that's it. Just my recollection of what PAASE can do. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So our next president is Dr. DeLumen here. I don't see his name, so we can probably call on Dr. Seville Detir Wadley. I saw her earlier. Seville.
Muted myself. So
yeah. Hello.
It's good to see everyone with their smiling faces. And wow, what kind of picture is that? But anyway, I was president in the year 1999 to 2000, and I think the most memorable event in 2000 was when Ino and Pasinco decided to start the co-lectureship award in science and engineering. We held the meeting in Shangri-La. That's a Shangri-La Hotel in Makati. And actually, he surprised me when we were preparing to start the meeting. And the two of them approached me, and I said, that's such a tremendous idea. And during that time, we did not have a selection committee. We had an informal selection committee for the lectureship awardee, and I depended on Bino to put together a committee on engineering and science. And so the first science lectureship award was given to Olivera at the University of Utah. And engineering was awarded to Al An. So that was the most memorable event. But also, the other thing that was very memorable was that it was raining so hard during that day. And one of our guest speakers was Ayala. That's when they started talking about this Ayala complex. That was the year 2000. And in fact, Banara was also there in attendance. So many of our US-based members also made it to that meeting. The other thing that was memorable was the participation of students, because Professor Miran Santos was the one who was helping me. She helped me a lot get the meeting organized because I was here. And so there was it was quite a bit of participation of students from UP, LaSalle, and what do you call this, UST. But I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly what our theme was, but that's what we had achieved. The other thing that my thoughts about the future of PAASE is that I agree with everyone that we have to attract more of the young scientists to get more involved in the they don't have to get involved in our association, but like giving back. And I feel that we need to do more. I don't know how we can influence the government without, we don't want to get into politics, but I don't know how we can have greater influence. Maybe some people have better thoughts about that. So that's those are my thoughts about PAASE. And I'm so glad that I've been so blessed to be within this association. And in fact, on Saturday, we're inviting everyone to celebrate a party here in my house.
Thank you, Seville. All right. Okay, so that was the first question, but it seems to me that I asked the first question, but many have already answered the second and the third. Gladys, did you want to ask the second and third questions at the same time now?
Yes, because we're running out of time.
Okay, because we're running out of time. So I'll turn over the table to you now that we have met all of our present presidents, or those who are present in our tonight.
Okay, so thank you everyone. So good evening and good morning. It's an honor to meet all of you. I'm Gladys Completo. I'm the current vice president and the president-elect starting next year. So the second question is actually, as Marge already mentioned, some of you already started answering it. If you are the president now, what will be your theme and why? And the third question is, what are you willing to do for PAASE moving forward? Okay, so the questions are, if you are the president now, what will be your theme and why? And what are you willing to do for PAASE moving forward? So I'd like to start first with Al Serafica, because I think he didn't get a chance to talk about his theme, right, in when you were the president.
Okay, thanks, Gladys. But I did post it in the chat group so that everyone can probably look at it. Thank you very much for the opportunity again, past presidents, for sharing your past. And so I guess you can't help but talk about the future and the present. And some of you did actually just do that. But for me, really, I proposed to Mario sometime in October to begin supporting the new administration It was coming in at that time, so I had a PSG project in mind, which is the PAASE supporting government and industry, PSGI. And again, it can be a project oriented towards maybe a start as a customer discovery activity of PAASE, asking government and industry their needs in particular sectors, so that we, as PAASE, including our expert groups, be able to address those by forming transdisciplinary teams, not only composed of academics like us, but also partnering and getting to know industry, stakeholders. I work now with the League of Corporate Foundation and leading a foundation as well with Unilab Foundation on STEM education. They can be part of that, stakeholders as well. But my past, being an entrepreneur and a risk capital, venture capital participant, is also another area that we also began discussions in the National Academy of Science on how to involve them, because they are the true hard workers in terms of being able to make any ideas implemented and become sustainable. If you can find a way to be able to also extract commercial or economic activity and value into our projects and suggestions. So I can expound on that on the next discussion that we had, but I think that's probably the shortest way I can say. Moving forward, I'm here. I'm a member of the board again. I promise to look for also for our potential support and funding moving forward with the secretaries of government as well as with industry. And thank you very much, Gladys. And I hope we can address the two questions directly at this point, because we barely have 20 minutes to do it. Thank you very much. And have a good day, presidents, past presidents. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. So we now move on to our next president, Dr. Al Albano.
One thing that PAASE has done from the beginning was to urge the Philippine government to allot more funds for research. I think we should continue doing that, since we have been successful in the past, should be even more successful in the future.
That's for the theme. And how about what are you willing to do for PAASE moving forward?
Well, since I'm now way past retirement, the most I can do is to cheer from the sidelines. But if there's anything that I need to do, I'm willing to do it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Al Albano. So we now move on to Carlito. Good to see you again. No, Dr. Gomiso, sorry.
Hi. As Al said, I'm also way past retirement, but I must say that I still try to be active in the Philippines. We're writing a book on Laguna de Bay, and I've been consulting with the Philippine Space Agency. I also do research on forestry, on vegetation, and fisheries. So I think that this kind of activities should be part of PAASE activities. I think what Al has expressed a while ago about innovation should also be pursued, because what we need in the Philippines is actually a lot of money to be able to pursue what we want to do. That's, I think, how Korea and Taiwan became very advanced, because they had a lot of money from manufacturing, and in the process, they were able to get international scientists to advise them and attract them to Korea or Taiwan and accelerate their advancement in the field. So if we can do the same thing and attract not just PAASE members from abroad, but also other international experts to come to the Philippines I think that that would accelerate our ability to compete with other countries. So my point is that we can be more useful in terms of advancing Philippine technology by maybe doing some compartmentalization, because there are more than 300 members now, very diverse capabilities. So we can have working groups. With each working group, maybe a group of people with some expertise to advise the government and policymakers on what to be doing for the future. And I don't know whether this is the role of the president of PAASE, but I think that it should be the plan for the Philippines moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Comiso. Now we move on to Carlito Lebrilia. Are you still there?
Yeah, sorry. It was difficult finding the unmute button. You know, my experience in the last few years collaborating with Gladys and Ruel and in this project of looking at plants as sort of therapeutics for cancer. So that collaboration was actually sponsored by the PICARI grant. And I've been informed that the PICARI wasn't really a science grant, it was a teaching grant. But the production that we've had in this one grant alone, I think we already had 4 or 5 papers published.
10.
10, yeah, even more in this grant. And it just sort of shows you what's possible when, you know, if you just provide money and get out of the way as much as possible. And I think this is what we need in the Philippines. We need, one, a sustained effort, and 2, focus, and not everything. I have 2 students right now, one from Taiwan and one from the Philippines. They're both excellent students. The one from the Philippines is just amazing. He's just opening up new areas for us. So the power is there. And the one from Taiwan, he came over here because he wanted to study something that wasn't in Taiwan, and he knows it wasn't going to be supported, because in Taiwan you either do electronics and materials, or you don't do anything. But that's okay. That model for them has worked really well, and it's worked for just about every country. And so I think finding Philippine strength and putting money in that, not in everything, but just in those that will actually look like it will yield something, I think is really the key. And I think perhaps that's where PAASE should be focused on, is identifying sectors that the Philippine science can really do well in, and then fix the infrastructure so that they can buy things more easily. I think those are the areas that would really benefit the science there, and something that we can all sort of gather around and then keep reminding the thought leaders there in the Philippines that this is something that needs to be done. And so I think that's where our next effort should be. And also we need to know how we're doing. And so we need economists and social scientists in PAASE to really sort of monitor what it is that's lacking, and what we need to support, not just as part of PAASE, but as our community to help influence again Philippine thoughts and Philippine decisions. So those are the things that I think we should be doing.
Thank you very much, Carlito. And I do agree to improve procurement, right? And let's hear from our next president, Dr. Alvin Colaba.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Again, nice to see all the past presidents and the current president and officers of PAASE. Yeah, if I were to suggest the theme in the next, it would be 1% of GDP for R&D, the missing link. We have already massive, programs for many, many years and until now. And we will tend to lose these investments if we really put up a lot of financial support to pursue research and development across all sectors. So we have seen already significant strides in human capital development. Since 2007, the government has invested a massive, to build our capacity in STEM. And there's so many already local PhDs, masters, and the infrastructure has been continually being built. Started with the National Science Complex and the Engineering Complex in Diliman, or of course it's based in UP, and all over the country. We have already built many global linkages and networking. We have enabling policies. And I think the missing link now is to get to that, but because in 2007, during our campaign, 2006, of course, then Chairman Albano, chaired that. We already pushed, moving towards a 1%, spending on research, one of the gross domestic product, GDP. If we can push that, I think we will get there, because I think many, even if we say it's now the capacity, the absorptive capacity, I think it would not be a problem. There are many, I have met many Filipinos who are doing or pursuing their PhDs abroad whenever I travel, and they have no jobs yet. They go there for scholarships on their own, and they're just waiting for that opportunity to work in the Philippines, or if we have that money so that we can strengthen our infrastructure, labs, and and pay more and hire more research, I think we will get there. So that 1% of GDP for me is an initial step. And what I would like to, if I have to do the same back in 2005, 2006, where every night we have to have a meeting and doing this campaign, which we have succeeded anyway, I am wanting to, to be part of that team again, if ever another team will be formed to push for that 1% budget for R&D. That's all. Thank you, Gladys. Thank you.
Thanks, Alvin. So now we move on to Dr. Leah Tolosa.
Hello again, and thank you for organizing this summit. I really cannot think of myself as being president again. I am part of the past of PAASE. I was president for 2008, and then I was chairman of the board for like 9 years. Multiple years, really. And then I was also chairman of the membership committee, and I wrote some of the rules that are still being used today. I'm not yet retired, but I would like to see, we have so many new members that are excellent, and I've recruited at least 2 of the best, Mario and Marge. So I think they will follow my footsteps, and I'm very happy about that. But in terms of seeing the future of PAASE, now that I am part of NIH National Center for Advancing Translational Science, I really want to see some extensive translations of some of the basic scientific strengths of the Philippines, like natural products that the Philippines has been working on for probably at least half a century. And it would be great to see, you know, an actual treatment that's approved by the FDA that can be used on a patient, you know, because that's basically what translation is. Same with many of the talents of our engineers in the Philippines. And so, but like many of you said, that requires money. And I think one of the things that seems to be missing, and I may be wrong, are SBIRs and STTRs, which are small business grants for small businesses, startups, and I'm pretty sure Carlito can be a good resource person for that, because he is always starting new companies from academic research. So that's the sort of thing that I'd like to see the Philippines to have, to be a leader in one particular scientific strength, and I can see natural products as being that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's move on now to Giselle. To Toby, Dr. Toby Dairit.
Toby muna.
Yeah, well, thanks. I just maybe I'd like to pick up on what Alvin mentioned. The strength of PAASE, of course, is in the people in PAASE. They're all, you know, high quality, lots of experience with the, you know, things that you know they can help the country with. And I'd like to use that the linkages there to try to improve the ecosystem, because well, Alvin mentioned the 1% is still really a goal, but we really have to convince in a sustained way Congress, the Senate, and lower house. We should always have a presence there, so that, I mean, you can only influence the budget if you can influence Congress. And we do this, you know, on and off. But I think we have to make it a more sustained effort. But to do this, we need, of course, the assistance of the economists and sociologists, and to show how science and engineering actually can improve growth. Because what the politicians will want to see is growth, you know, addressing poverty and all that. So we have to make that connection. Now, since we're training a lot of people, you know, to do higher levels, we have to picture that as a value chain. You know, you start with you know, your inputs, but then you have to follow it up all the way through as a value chain until they can actually produce, you know, the results of their training. So it's not sufficient to just give scholarships. The value chain demands that you have to improve the ecosystem, and that includes, you know, infrastructure and all the government policies need to be improved, so that the money that's put into science is used more efficiently. A common complaint is that you can get a budget, but then you get delayed for a year because of whatever regulations, and then, you know, the money goes to waste. So, you know, the money can be there, but it has to be used efficiently. And that's part of what we can do as PAASE, to influence policy. So yeah, just some thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, Giselle.
Thanks, Gladys. I asked to share a screen, but before I do that, I'd like to propose internally that PAASE set up a legacy webinar series and fund. And a legacy would be to honor those for their contributions to science and engineering, especially our older members. But with that, we would also like to campaign to increase the trust fund of PAASE, because as the treasurer says, we are in the red. And for local PAASE, we have you know, big expense, which is the ScienJ, and I would like to showcase the example of one of our most generous donors, Ann Villalobos, who contributes significant money to us every year. But then in our roster, we have many scientists who have already completed the cycle of say the startup being sold and making money, including Alsa Rafica. And we know that now Carlito Lebrilla has a big biotech company, and he has actually acknowledged that one of the products was a result of a discussion that I had with him in the early APAMS at the Manila Hotel. And this is on glycoprotein diagnostics, which I had shared with him. It was actually the project of Ed Padlan and myself, and I had actually sent him a sample. So I'm thinking that perhaps we should have people like Al and Carlito set an example of making a substantial donation to the organization that would be focused, say, on supporting the commercialization of some products that Leah was talking about. But what I really want to share also here is our an endless campaign for S&T, human capital development. Alvin mentioned 1% of GDP, and GDP is now going to hit more than $400 billion. So 1% of that is 4 billion pesos. 4 billion dollars, which is 220 billion pesos. How are you going to spend that money if you do not have a way to spend it? If you do not have the experts in S&T who would be advising government, of course, academe, and also the private sector. And in academe, it is the S&T experts who should be consulted, who should be at the lead for developing the infrastructure. So my advocacy in PAASE remains the same. It is S&T human capital development or suprastructure, which is the theme of our campaign in 2006. And again, the position paper in 2021, which I think should still be pursued. And we were asked to come up with a proposal for this by the last speaker of the House. And we wanted to use Mindanao as our training experimental ground. And we prepared a budget for 200 million and 400 million pesos, identifying 8 leading S&T centers in Mindanao, MSU system, and other Mindanao universities. And we say that this is the hub of S&T and innovation, and they should be the ones to lead, in the private sector and government. Now, we have some models through our MOUs with EBSU, with BPSU. These are SUPs, and Alvin has been a model for that. He has brought in Joel to EBSU, to the Cloban, and we are linked with the private sector, the farmers associations, more importantly, linked with government, with LGU. So we're working closely with the governor. So there are models that the PAASE has initiated. But then we haven't gotten a major support from the DOST, and the DOST says they will fund iSteam and iStart, starting with the one in Leyte. Somebody mentioned reactivating our linkage with CHED, and that is very important. At our last meeting with the DOST, we said that we should connect with CHED, but then they said, well, CHED has a different allocation of its budget. And so we were saying, how come we cannot get their faculty from the SUCs to train in our labs in UP, LaSalle, Ateneo, just like DOST is willing to support the training of our faculty in foreign universities, like the ones that you are in, and where you can invite them to your lab. So it's a very complex problem that we face, but bottom line is We need more than 50 active in PAASE to pursue these goals. And as we grow the numbers now close to 600, if we get another 10, another 20, I think we will be stronger. But they should also be region-based so that we can start having our impacts felt in the regions. So that's it. And I will continue to help in trying to implement the MOUs that were signed during my term. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So now we move on to our next president. Can you please flash it? We can to Gobet. Can we hear from Gobet, please?
Yes, I thank you, Gladys. I, of course, would like to follow up on and build on what has been said by Giselle and Toby. You know, an interesting question is if the government suddenly gives 1% of our national budget to SNT, what will we do with it? And how will we spend it? And how can we spend it fast enough? Do we have the institutions, people, and ecosystem to spend it right? You know, these are very important questions because of our limited capacity and perhaps the number of institutions. But I will distill it to the number of researchers that we have. I would say as a percentage of population, we do not have the percentage that is capable of absorbing that much resource, even if we have it today. And I think in a sustained effort, we will of course see the current resources go up, and gradually at a very sustainable level. In fact, what I would like to see is a partnership with the government, or even I would be direct with politicians, even working with them very early in their careers to make SNT as a flagship of whatever platform they want to contribute to society. And this should be consistent, meaning it should not vary from one administration to another. We should work on every outgoing, incoming, and future administrations always as PAASE, or as scientists and engineers, to make this a high priority. What I would say also is the possibility of putting a line item, a code, or a foundation, or simply things similar to a Max Planck Society, or you know, even a percent of the GDP as by law to be dedicated to investments in the STEM disciplines. And so I think a lot of these good ideas that we have simply need to get into the right colleagues in leadership. And that means that we have to be sustained in our effort to reach out to them and also to partner with them. You see, the area of nation building, of course, comes from many perspectives, and we have our own perspective on how nation building can take place. But many things we do and can do are actually, or rather has been done in many other countries. And so trying to do things similar to what has been done, let's say, in Taiwan or Korea or Japan or even Vietnam or Thailand, are things that we can borrow or we can do and emulate. So I think PAASE going forward just has to be sustainable in terms of this effort, and again, bring in new players or bring in very important commitment and stakeholders from the next generation. I think Gladys has to be unmuted.
Sorry, is Francis here now? If not, let's move on to Senior.
She's not here too.
Oh, she's not here. Okay, and then so it will be Joel.
Okay, thank you. I'll be very quick. I recognize the time limitation. I'll talk only for about for 2 minutes. And of course, I can do this more efficiently by showing you 2 slides. This is not a topic that I'm suggesting for an APAMS meeting, but it's 2 points that I would like to share because I think it's worth considering this. So I made a cartoon here of the Philippine Science and Technology Futures Brain Trust. Of course, we have the Science and Technology Professional Societies. We have quite a number of those in the Philippines. Science and Technology Universities and high schools, science and technology industry, science and technology government agencies. But of course, the leading organizations that constitute the S&T Futures Brain Trust in the country include the National Academy of Science and Technology of the Philippines, and of course, the Philippine American Academy of Science and Technology. Now, in the last few years, PAASE has grown significantly, which is actually wonderful. And credit to Giselle, really, for, to my recollection, she was the one that started this. However, what has happened is that we have a silent majority within PAASE. But the plus side is that the brain trust, within PAASE and within NAS has really grown significantly. And so we need to figure out ways by which we could unleash the intellectual powers and the creative ideas of the silent majority within PAASE today. So this is something in-house. And I think if we can do that, then the capacity of PAASE to address so many issues relating to science and technology and relating to the building of innovation ecosystems in the Philippines could be addressed. The second one is on concerning efficiency in terms of the actions of PAASE relating to policies that relate to the national stage. And this is well known, of course, that the official scientific advisory group of the Philippines is the National Academy of Science and Technology of the Philippines. And I'm just adding here the fact that they have a budget allocation by the Philippine government of 163 million pesos or $3 million annually. And this was based in 2023. And of course, PAASE does not receive any official budget allocation from the Philippine government. But I'm not saying that PAASE is not important. Of course, PAASE is extremely important. But the point that I'm showing this is that, again, to be able to act in terms of influencing policy concerning science and technology, concerning the building of innovation ecosystems in the Philippines, it makes perfect sense for PAASE to partner together with NAST when it comes to this, because NAST has the ears of the President of the Philippine Republic as well as his cabinet, because that's one of the mandates assigned to NAST, is to serve as official advisor to the Philippine President as well as his cabinet. So I think, of course, NAST and PAASE are pretty close, but I think if we foster a closer cooperation when it comes to national policy on science and technology, I think that both of them, NAST and PAASE, could make some really transformative impact. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joel, for that wonderful idea. And then hopefully we can do that with NAS. So now we're open, unless I missed other press. Oh, I think Seville, Dr. Seville, can you please share your ideas?
Well, I think Carlito and first of all, I want to commend the efforts of a lot of people, of you guys. You have a history, especially Giselle. I know what Giselle, I'm more familiar with what Giselle has been doing, and also Alvin Colaba, and all you guys, Joey Comiso. And the president, Mario, he has really brought up a lot of ideas and a lot of activities at PAASE. But all of you, I commend all of your ideas and efforts and everything. Anyway, I agree with Carlito and also with Leah that we should, in my opinion, we should focus on only a few areas. PAASE, in my opinion, should support only a few projects because to be so diverse, to be so distributed in too many areas will never, accomplish anything. And I think that's a well-known strategy. So the other thing is, as people have said, is to really increase the culture of science and technology. I'm surprised by what Joel just said, that NAS is an advisor to the president of the Philippines. Is that true? And it's been like that for years?
Theoretically. It's an official mandate for NAST.
Yeah. So they don't listen to him, to them, the government? It seems like the government has not been listening to what NAST has been, I don't know what NAST has been saying.
May I, Gladys, Seville, may I just interject? So now Alvin is in the executive council of NAST, so things will change. But it's true, we have recommendations to the government submitted to the NEDA, to the DOST. Every annual scientific meeting, at the end of the meeting, then I've been asking, what's the outcome of the recommendations? That has to be reported back to NAS. But ideally, the NAS president should sit in the advisory council of the president of the Philippines. It does not happen. But maybe now with Alvin in NAST, EC, things will change.
And Alvin's idea is to ask for an allocation of 1% of the Philippine budget. Is that what I'm hearing? 1% of the Philippine budget.
It's my advocacy. Remember, we started at one Seville back in 2006, 2007, our campaign. What I'm saying is we have to sustain that effort of pushing for that. Along the way, definitely that amount will not come. I mean, that percentage, that amount, 220 billion, that is actually will not come in 3 years' time, in 5 years' time. Definitely, there's a time to build up our capacities, yung question about the absorptive capacity, but it will allow to buy out our scientists.
I really disagree.
But anyway, it's not the idea of the NAST, it's
okay. I really disagree very strongly with the idea that if we are given 1% of the Philippine budget, that we cannot absorb that. There are a lot of bright, brains in the Philippines. We should be able to do that. There was a time in China when they were just sending people over here, and they were not really very well trained as far as they had MDs and stuff like that. And you gotta train these people. So that's just training. But I think we should be able to absorb. We have the brains. We should have the capability. And I really disagree with the idea that we cannot absorb that. We should be able to take advantage of that and show to the government, show to the Filipino people that if we are given a certain budget, that we are capable of, taking advantage of that and pushing science and technology forward. I know I'm speaking in general terms, but I really think that if we are given 1% of the Philippine budget, that we should be able to take advantage of that.
The GDP. May I say something? May I say something?
Yes. Sure.
Alvin is talking of 1% of the national, not the national budget. He's talking of GDP. That's I'd say we can scream and not get it, because that's too big. That's not even, I don't think that's even the Philippine budget. I don't think please please look at your numbers.
Yes,
Those are impossible numbers, okay? You're not talking of 1% of Philippine budget. You're talking of the GDP of the Philippines. That is what he said. And in fact, Giselle made the computation already. And if you, Giselle, will you repeat the numbers that you...
20 billion. 220 billion.
420
10
billion, guys.
May I reply to Esther?
Yeah.
I typed it. I said GDP is close to $400 billion. One
right.
of that would be 4 billion pesos. $4 billion or 220 billion pesos.
Yes.
220 billion pesos. How can you spend that money wisely? That is the big question. So you just carve a part of it. And then I agree, Seville, that yes, we should have this massive training of our best and brightest abroad. And some of the money would be reserved for the incentives for them to come home in the regions. Okay, but that needs a master plan. And if the government is not committed to that, walang mangyayari na naman, no?
May I continue my, if you want money from the government, we have to prepare. We cannot be shouting and saying, PAASE says we should get, we should prepare a program, how we will spend it and for how long. I know that the biggest amount that we have gotten in terms of science and technology development, which is outside of the regular budget, was $200 million for the engineering and science education project. But that was from the World Bank. That's the biggest so far that they have given to us in terms of money. So, but that took really a proposal with actual schools that will be participating. There were 12 science schools, colleges and universities, 20 engineering schools, and over 100 science education institutions. And faculty development, manpower, and also equipment was provided to all these institutions. But so we have to write it down. We cannot just be saying, yeah, we want 1 billion or however much you want to. You have to write it down. And it takes, in the Philippines, I'm ready to say, policies are not, they don't give it to us just because we write a position paper. No, someone, a group, must personally follow this up with people. And my 2 cents, we now have in the government people that we know who can help us. Ben Jokno, Philip Medalla, Arsenio Balisacan. These are all UP professors, and we can talk with them. So my suggestion is you write a proposal, and we can course it through these guys. But you have to, for us to be able to convince these schools, Father Ben Nebres and I went to each and every single one of them, including the 100 science education institutions, small schools all over the country. We had to talk with the principals to convince them to be part of a project. So it's not just talking and so on. It's really sitting down and doing the dirty work. That's my advice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gladys, can I respond to that?
Alvin from
I would like to respond. I think
I say something just to follow
sorry,
up?
Civil, okay.
Sorry, Civil first.
I totally agree with Esther, because when NIH goes to the Congress and asks for money, they have this plan, they have the roadmap. So you cannot just ask for money saying, oh, we need this for that. Everything has to be written down in detail. Thank you.
Okay,
Can I
thank you.
respond to that?
Yes, Alvin, is it
Okay.
you, Alvin?
It's good that I created this, discussion. The 1% of GDP budget is must be our target. That's what we need. Certainly, remember when when PAASE did the 2005-2006 campaign to PGMA, which we were committed, given an amount of 1.5 billion for and the rest and the National Science Complex. That was an effort. That was a clear effort of PAASE. I think, with due respect to Dr. Esther Garcia, that's what we have to do. We have done that already. We got it. What we wanted was a massive investment in human resource development. And we got it from PGMA. And that was a 2-year work. And we did that individual, we have to look for champions, So what I'm saying now is, and at that time, we were already talking of that 1%. But we didn't pursue that because that was part of the vision, but we started with the human capital development, the infrastructure, the National Science Complex, and we succeeded to get the support of the government. We have to begin also thinking about that. So that once you have it, like 1%, then everyone now can think about the plan, the programs, what we need to do with the 400 billion US dollar or 1% of the GDP. And I'm sure it will not gonna happen in 5 years or 10 years time, but that's we have to start thinking about that, talking about it, talking about the programs, and maybe in 10 years time we have that. Because I think without talking about the money, I will tell you guys, I'm in the academe. We buying out all the research funding cannot buy out time of our researchers, and that is a major problem. And why we succeeded in LaSalle? Because for every external funding that we get, there is an automatic counterpart funding through the loading from internal funds of LaSalle. So what I mean is, if you can buy out our scientists with time, I will tell you, I agree with Dr. Seville. Yes, we have the capacity. We can bring the best mind. There's so many Filipinos abroad. We can bring them with that money. I will tell you, kukulangin pa yon. But because I have seen that, the team back in 2006, we did it. And I think if you give us the mandate for the PAASE to move for 1%, we will do it. And I'm sure with this group of people, Giselle, Joel, Al, with the engagement of industry, I will tell you, kukulangin you 1%. Give us that challenge. We will do it.
Thank you.
We'll give you the proposal. But what I'm saying is, do not underestimate our capacity, because I'm sure we didn't in the past, and now we are getting there. Except that still the money is being used for other purposes. But if money is really designed for R&D, I would say, we can work hard to utilize that money. There is a place for that. I would say I will commit to working on that. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Alvin. If you look at the chat box here, I heard that GOBET already has a proposal with a framework and a roadmap. So maybe we could look at that later, and then we can have we have to really meet and discuss this in detail. So it's either GOBET, do you want to talk about it? Or I also see Al raising his hand.
I can say a little, but
Okay.
because of time. Of course, these things we can all pitch in, but I did write a very comprehensive strategy that I actually submitted to USAID for a proposal that was competing with USAID's TRIDE. And that was a very strong roadmap with a very ambitious goal. And if a lot of money had been put in, comparable to billions of pesos, I think that would have been a good way to absorb a lot of the things that we can if we have a big mandate or budget. But I do agree with Alvin if we have enough incentive and institutions to bring a lot of Filipinos abroad back to the Philippines, the way Taiwan did and the way Korea did, we could easily jumpstart and catalyze a very strong S&T program. Imagine how many researchers like maybe me or maybe Mike Purunganan, if you give let's say an institute worth about $50 to $100 million to create a very strong national program, how much of that infrastructure can be done. And I'm not talking about selfishly my program alone, but just me making a big national institute with a big pipeline of students from the Philippines going abroad and back, and a lot of institutes working with the industry. It is possible, but I'm just dreaming. Maybe I'm just saying that there's enough talent abroad to go back to the Philippines and contribute very, very fast to a national development.
Thank you, Gobet. So Al, would you like to add?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, definitely this is a very spirited discussion. I really like the ideas that are put forth. Again, I did post in the chat box the ecosystem that we needed to encourage and involve in any activity. It doesn't have to all come from government, because government is very restrictive about the way money is spent in the Philippines. You have to deal with RA 9184, which is the procurement law, that you guys have no idea how difficult to deal with that is. Having been here for 10 years, we've been trying to solve that problem for the last 10 years here. With USAID strides, did we unlock it? No. So please bear with us. It's not easy, but we need to involve all the sectors: entrepreneurs, VCs, risk capital, corporate, legal corporate foundations. I'm involved with that now, besides the usual suspects of academe, government, and industry. They're not homogeneous. So clearly, guys, Esther's right. We have good people now in government. This government is facing the US, at least from a cooperative standpoint. There's no better opportunity. Having been here for 10 years, I think now is the best time to propose a 1% project that Alvin is talking about. And we, both PAASE and we are NAS as well, can do this together. But we need raise of hands and really be involved. Put your name on it. Write your piece of the action. And what we can do is to match even the funds of government. If we can do that with private sector, then we have a fighting chance to get it through the government, Congress for approval moving forward. So that's it for me, but thank you very much. This is a very good outcome of the talk, and I think I have nothing more to say. Salamat sa inyong lahat.
Thank you, Al. Let me just read what Joel Coelho said in the chat box before I call on Mario for the to summarize what we have discussed. So Joel Coelho mentioned here, this is a perfect case where PAASE and NAS partnering to work together would be truly impactful. So Alvin, we look forward to collaborating with NAS. Is that right, Joel?
Yes, precisely.
Okay. So
Sorry about with regard to that. I think Mario already knows about that. Remember, Mario, we already talked about that in Gladys, how we can, the relationship, with NASD. Thank you.
Now let me call on President Mario to just summarize what we have discussed. It was really a lot of insights and really plans for PAASE. Mario?
Thank you very much, Gladys. This is a tall order to summarize everything that's been discussed today. So, but then for now, so our plan would be, we took copious notes, of all the things that you said. But for now, perhaps a few themes that emerged from our discussion and presentations, of course, continuing advancing science and engineering capabilities in the Philippines. So this theme encompasses PAASE's effort to innovate, advance science and engineering capabilities, promote R&D in the country. Also, it includes a lot of smaller parts, like entrepreneurship, continuing our APAMs, our website development and activities. Second, strengthening PAASE's relationship with the government, industry, and universities. So focusing on the importance of our strengths, including, of course, efforts to influence CHED and DepEd, engaging and encouraging human capital development. Number three, continue building an innovation ecosystem. This theme highlights the importance of science as an investment and the need to build an innovation ecosystem in the country, including identifying sectors where the Philippines can excel, fixing the procurement system, monitoring the impact of research and development efforts. Number four, sustaining PAASE's efforts, through legacy webinars, fundraising, including efforts to increase the trust fund, establish region-based research and development, focusing on a few key projects. And finally, tapping into the intellectual powers of PAASE members, highlighting the importance of unleashing the strengths of PAASE members, tapping into the silent majority, as Joel mentioned, partnering with NAS to allocate more funds from the Philippine government, including efforts to attract more scientists, involving more students, collaborating with international experts. And of course, the importance of writing down what we want to happen. Several of you mentioned Gobet's proposal, and hopefully we can sit down and talk more about that. So for now, I'd like to thank everyone. This is not the end of our conversation. We would like to invite you to attend the activities of the 43rd PAASE Anniversary Week. There's actually a webinar that's going to happen very soon by Dora Linda Lisay. And then tomorrow by Dr. Ramon Razal from UPLB. Then we have the Publishing in STEM Journals seminar by Gobet Advincula. Then on Friday, we'll have the oath-taking and PAASE 101 to be followed by the business meeting. So maraming salamat po. Huwag po kayong magsasawa. We will publish the summary of this session tonight. Salamat po. Salamat Al. Salamat Marge. Salamat Gladys. Maraming salamat po mga presidente.
Thanks, everyone. Yes.
Everybody
Thank you so much. Photo po.
Yes. Photo. Thank you. Okay.
Sige po. 1, 2, 3.
Giselle, can you open your video? Carlito.
Okay na po? Sige po. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Another one po. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Okay na po. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, everyone. That was a
Bye.
very interesting and productive discussion.
Very
Thank you. Thank you.
Salamat.
Look forward to working with you
Salamat.
more.
So,
Sige.
Mario, there is a technical problem. I don't think we can have the next webinar.
Oh.
Yes, they cannot.
They couldn't open the Zoom?
They couldn't open the Zoom. So there's, I think, Billy already sent.
It was supposed to be 8 o'clock.
Yes, they
Already
had.
But they couldn't.
Probably.
They couldn't open the Zoom. It's from the physician
Ugma.
scientist.
Yes.
Yeah, Ugmasa.
Yes, she is the host of that, and then we cannot open it. So yes, next time it should come from PAASE. Ano? Ganun na lang gawin.
Yeah. Is there a way for us to host it? Is it too late? Too late.
Oh, maybe. But the registrants, we have to send them a new Zoom link, and then they thought the webinar should have started at 8 a.m. and it's
Yeah,
already 8:04. So baka
They still could not open.
Baka nawala na yung mga guest.
Yes.
Huh.
We
Baka
can
kailangan i-schedule.
Yeah, we can just reschedule.
Reschedule na lang. Oo. Okay.
But
Alright.
thank you,
Thank you,
Al,
everyone.
Thank you.
I suggest
Thank you, Gobet. See you on Thursday.
Thank you. See you. See you Wednesday.
Joey, thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am Esther.
Yeah.
Ma'am Esther, thank
God
you.
bless you all.
Thank
Hi,
you
everyone.
for attending.
Molly, thank you.
Thank you.
Gobet.
Thank you.
I'll try.
Sean, Al.
Sige.
Thank you. Thank you.
Alice.
Okay.